Getting a opportunity in ICE conference is a fantastic moment for us. And more than that, I'm in the office. That feels really homely. So surprising. Office feeling homely, and home is feeling like office. Anyways, I mean, last 2 days we have gone through a lot of discussion in the office, and the way I saw the office support staff coming forward and helping us is really an emotional moment. And really, I want to thank, before starting my note, to all of them who have supported me through this process. Today's topic is on API security. And before I go into that, let me give you my background. I hope a lot of you know about me. I lead integration capability and also help manage Java capability along with Java. Now, Rakesh did talk about ESB and he compared it to the MG road. All I want to say is in Bangalore, we have ring roads also. So there's always a place for ESB. We'll talk in a separate session. So anyways, let's come to the our key topic today, API security, and why I have picked up this topic. It's very interesting that as we go and pick up a technology, it settles down for a couple of years, and then things start again evolving, things start falling apart. And because of the lot of innovations, lot of challenges that keep coming. For the last 1 year, whenever I'm doing solutioning, because as a COE, we do a lot of solutioning for our clients, both in the space of microservices, cloud, integration, hybrid, everything. One thing that I deal a lot is with API. I also deal with the way I have to create APIs, I have to manage in terms of orchestrations or choreography or middleware, what you call it, GraphQL, everything comes. But everywhere I'm playing with APIs. And I have been asked by clients are asking me a lot of questions that I have certain scenarios and how do you go about API security? Few of them are on CDN and few of them are going for a WAF and they still feel, do I really need to secure my APIs any further? Data has been secured. Likewise, a lot of questions. Some people think, okay, I have a service mesh. Do I need something else or gateway or not? So a lot of these questions are there. But the security, if you look upon the overall security space for API is actually evolving. It's no more limited to these small pieces. So let me come to the agenda that we want to talk through. We're going to talk through the top threats in the API security. And believe it is not an academic, it's not for the academic purpose. We actually need to look through, understand the top threats. It's actually a business problem. It's no more an IT problem. And I want to insist that's a business problem because a sufficient funding has to come from the business. It's no more an operational headache overhead. Business has to really look into it seriously if they really want to grow. And I will tell you what is that. The second is about AI-based security and benefits. It's an outcome of our discussion of threat and the mitigation strategy. And we will touch upon the AI security. Right? I'm not an expert, by the way, on the AI security. I've been trying to wire all the pieces around security together, but definitely there are elements. I've been working with a lot of the vendors in the space, a couple of vendors, not a lot. And I have learned a lot, in my interaction with them, and I will share my knowledge on that. Finally, we'll come to the API gateway space where I will introduce you to the API gateway, what all are the components that we play within API gateway. We all know about it. API gateway is like done and dusted stuff for the last 3, 4 years, 6 years, if I'm not wrong. But the way we use API gateway, it has been evolving a lot. And again, it's evolving. It's now, so we will touch upon that and we'll try to create a very, very integrated view overall. Okay. And you will, in the end, what the key takeaway will be that to understand what are the layers of security, how we need to think about when we're trying to apply a security in the API space, data space, country space. I will not go much in detail. I don't want you to try to understand each individual areas, but try to look upon an integrated view and the need to put your attention to those areas. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so we talked about APIs, and let me tell you, when we are talking about APIs or when we talk about business, the success of business, or when we talk about the digital business transformation, the success of business is when you are able to create a platform, a business as a platform. And what is business as a platform? It's nothing but an API marketplace. Look at the way the likes of Uber is evolving. Look at the way the open banking is evolving. It's all around API marketplace being created. Third-party payment providers in terms of banking, PISP, AISP providers, they're all coming. They're trying to consume your APIs. They're trying to sell it back to your consumers. So API is core to the success of business, and that is why unless we don't handle this API seriously, our business will be threatened. Now, these APIs, if you're coming from the traditional, IT world, definitely we all know internal, the SOA world, service enablement, all those things. That is where we got a lot of SOAP APIs, and then down the line, REST APIs. As we evolve further, we try to establish our, connect with the trusted partners like B2B, those scenarios. We had ADI format, but the new world, probably they are more benefited when they go for an API-driven world, right? That's a partner, that's an evolution. And the third level is the public API, where we're trying to further publish an API, the likes of Google API, Yahoo, where they're being consumed by so many app developers, right? They consume it. So you see the evolution and how the business level is evolving. You're coming from internal, you're trying to externalize for partner, and then you're trying to further externalize for public, right? And all these need a lot of security in place. If you look at one of the key things is 69% of the organizations are making the API accessible to partners and public as well. That means if you are operating, you have to look upon whatever your strategy, don't get bogged down to only a presentation layer trying to consume APIs. And I will show you that in a few of my diagrams as we traverse the entire journey. So this is a Gartner data, right? And if you are not around this number, something is wrong with your strategy. I can't give it's not like a silver bullet that everybody has to follow it. There will be some constraints. But if you are not around this figure, I think you need to evolve further. Let's go to the next slide. Now, this is about, we all know, this again, the Gartner data. It talks about 90% of the web-enabled application will have more surface area of attack. And what is the surface area? It's nothing but the API. That's what I've shown, right? Because you are accessing your backend system not only through a presentation layer, but also through the API access, right? So your number of surface, the touch points have increased. And what they say between 2019 and 2021, there's a 40% increased threat perception. That's really serious stuff. Imagine that threat perception for your APIs, which are, forget internal, okay, you still feel secure, that's good. But think about your business and public API, and that business actually is threatened with this one. For WASP, top 10 threat perception, whatever we have, is a serious threat. And that's what you see. I'm trying to integrate all the whatever threats we have, we're going to wire all of them, and we'll see an indicated view. So you will be benefited with this stuff. The next is about WAF. So we all feel very comfortable. Okay, I'm using cloud and I have a web application firewall, and I'm able to secure my stuff, my data. Do I really need an API gateway? Because my entire deployment is on cloud. The answer is, it has some limitations, right? WAF, if you look upon, says there are 30% are false positive. What is false positive? False alert. False alert means you are being bombarded by too many alerts, and you still have to handle it somehow. That's actually an impact on your resource. 50% of the security professionals, they have reported that 1/4 of the effort to breach the web application firewall has been successful. That means 25% of the time you have been successful in breaching the firewall. That's kind of false negative because you have not been able to judge it in advance. That's again a serious threat because your APIs are subjected to threat. It's not about presentation layer. Again, I will call out. If you're still stuck to presentation layer, your business still has to go forward and it has to achieve the end game of business transformation. Next one. 29% of the time, people fail to configure their WAF in time. 29% time. That could lead to false negative. That means your APIs will get attacked or you are too late to act. Okay, how much? 200 days. It takes 200 days on average. And again, this data is from Gartner. Okay, I'm not representing Gartner here. Thanks for their links. I've gone through that and it has helped me collect this data. But it takes 200 days to detect a breach. That's huge. Whatever you are trying to monetize is under threat. Let's move forward. How do we solve this problem? Now we'll go in the reverse order. How do we solve our problem? First step, eliminate all manual operations. What is that? Go for automation. You can see the extreme right, automation. So I've removed the configuration part. Doesn't mean that it will remove completely. For the sake of simplicity, I have put it that way. I'm sure there will be some element of manual configuration, but that's your first step towards automating things and improving the efficiency in terms of addressing security breach. Next one is to introduce AI security. Now that's the term I really want to highlight. That is something we need to act now. I have been trying to follow up with a lot of banks. If you ask me, as a COE, we talk to a lot of banks, a lot of retail or any vertical talk about. I feel the clients are yet to realize the need for AI security, and this is something we have to take up. And I said we have to explore the way we spend time in exploring what are the various API gateways, best options, what is right for us, what features, policies we need. Same way, now we have to prepare to investigate AI security. It's not an infra problem anymore. It's a problem at every layer. One of my layers is layer 7 application layer, where I have to handle it for sure. And then with this session that I'm going to have, probably I will have more visibility to be able to handle AI security at all the layers. Then we talk about network security. We talk a lot about network, talk about LAN and VPNs. Yes, they are there, but beyond that, we have to talk about secure access service edge. What it means? It means that wherever your solutions are being provided or the services are being consumed, at that point of time, you enforce security. It's no more about data center. It's about at the source where you are trying to consume the services. The consumers are everywhere, so are the services. I can't restrict it within data center within that perimeter. No, that's not going to fly. I have to secure at the edge. And how do you do that? You apply the appropriate policies, rules, configurations, role-based access control, that a lot of things. So you apply those things and use a software solution that can enable you to enforce that. I'm sure we are in the organization, we will have a restriction on what files I can access, what I can share, the amount of size of file which will get discarded if we just ship to us or we send it across the operation, right? You can't send big files across unless it is trusted or being authorized by it. Zero network access technology begins to replace VPN. And that's very interesting. That's your hypothesis. That's your architectural approach, that it's not like must have for all. You have to think through how do you achieve this. So what are the key pillars of zero network access technology, right? First is continuous authentication authorization. That's what we try to enforce at least at the API layer. Every API that we get goes through, it has an authorization, it has authentication if required based upon the user identity requirement. Entry verification, who's a user, device, whatever, we have to go and enforce. It's not that you can, if you look up on the team device, if you teams your login, you want to add your mobile, it will ask you to go and add it. You want to add on the device, one, it will mute and only device will be added. But that is not exactly an example of that, but all it means is to verify your entities. Third, data protection, various interpretation, various ways to enforce it. At base, data at rest, data in motion, differently we have to handle. The encryption, all the scannings, whatever is required, we need to handle it. And finally, end-to-end access visibility and audit. This is most difficult. Don't assume that you will have a product which will do it end-to-end. This is something we have to do it on our own because there's so many layers. Every layer has got their own infrastructure support systems. It has got own telemetry. And we have to figure out how do we wire all these things to get an end-to-end view and establish it traceably. I've seen a lot of clients where we have done a very good job in terms of building those, those end-to-end view with all the alerts in place. And finally, least privilege access, that's known. You don't have to give higher side, you go to the lower side for that least damage, least impact. So I'm quickly going to build whatever we have discussed so far. I'm trying to give a simulator scenario, and I will build a typical microservices and see how it has to be secured across the various layers. So at base, I've shown a microservices deployed in a Kubernetes container. It could be some service on the VM also, but for the sake of the trend, we have picked up for example. I need to secure it. The first thing I do, I bring in service mesh. We bring in sidecar proxy. We use service mesh infrastructure features to enforce your default TLS, all network level, all traffic management, authentication, authorization into the level. Actually, you don't have to do advanced implementation Spring Boot for security anymore. You can externalize entire those behavior at a service mesh level, and you can keep your framework for the purpose of business implementation. I can't take much time here, but that's something we have already proven, and it makes our code base very simple. So bring in API gateway, assuming there will be some layers of load balancer in between, but API gateway integrated with an identity access management system and IDP, where you store your credentials, right? Together, they all help you achieve OAuth flow. They help you achieve, they get you the OpenIDC flow, OpenIDC connect, you can establish through that, and wherever you are storing your credentials. You will handle what kind of grant types to be allowed to access, who you will validate your identity. In the gateway, you will figure out what kind of policies to be applied, whether the traffic management policies or threat protection or any mediation policies that you want to do. The bring in web server, which is a kind of abstraction, it has got its own responsibilities around DOS, attack prevention, handling phishing attacks, cookie tampering, those kind of things it can handle. So every layer you see, there's a purpose behind every layer. Next, we bring in application delivery controllers. It has a lot of responsibility, but at minimum that we should be aware is definitely SSL offloading. Right? That's a place we can do that. All encryption, decryption, caching, compression, all those things will take place here. For you can definitely read a lot and figure out what all you can do, but understand the layering. Finally, we look upon a web application firewall that will help you with a lot more in terms of the features it can do around filtration, TCP, HTTP traffic. It will go and monitor SQL injections, file injections, cross scripting, all those things will handle. And then perimeter firewall, where you look upon DDoS protections along with static packet filtration, scheduling structure. Look at these layers that we have talked through. And I will try to build a complete deployment view for you using these layers. They may not map exactly, but it will be close to that. But before that, we can further enhance the security by bringing in an AI element of that, where AI product selection could be about how do we fine-tune our security at each layer. And those green dots that you see is nothing but an AI add-on. Yes, you will have an AI add-on that will operate as a sidecar proxy. And same is everywhere. It need not be always on the sidecar. It can be hosted, so it can run as a daemon thread. So there are a lot of options out there around AI security. But again, the intention is not to go much in detail, but to help you understand that AI security is something that could be applied everywhere, and you have to evaluate what is the right AI product for me to fine tune, because everything else is all manual configuration. There's AI which will help us automate things. Let's do a deep dive on what is the architecture of AI security. Before we go into that, what are you doing as without AI security? Typically, the firewalls, the encryption, there's some activity monitoring, there's intrusion preventions, access control, content filtering, a lot of these things have been done. You have to write rules for that in advance. You have to analyze the threat, and accordingly, you have to take actions. That is where, as we discussed in the beginning, there's a lag, and we may miss the opportunity in terms of false positive or false. So why AI security? It can automate, it can detect, it can block those attacks. And then what exactly it does? What does it block? Some of the top threats you can see it does for us. DDoS, OWASP, top 10, data exposed. What exactly is within the AI security? You have a runtime engine. You have the management for managing those things. It creates an AI model. After analyzing it, and then accordingly it will allow creates rule to intercept traffic for the target resource which is being invoked. This is where is the gateway view. We'll move slightly faster because I'm running short of time, but let's have a look. This is gateway architecture. On the left side, you have various kinds of consumer to APIs. We discussed the beginning. You have public API consumers, you have partners, and you have got your internal consumers, right? In between, you have got AI API gateway components where you have disk where all the policies are stored. You have a management layer where you go and you can inject, you can wire to the management layer to make changes to API gateway. It's not something you go and play with the libraries. You have to every change you want to do to gateway layer, you have to go to the management layer or the API calls. The foremost is that you definitely use API gateway for a security. On the right side, you have all microservices. It gives you an abstraction as well, and you can decide which service to call and how do you manage versioning. Everything can be done at the gateway level. So, apart from some mild mediation that you can do. So exactly, you can see what exactly in do in API security. We talked about key validation, OpenID, connection, and many more in terms of security. Apart from that, there's a threat protection that is about regex, JSON, XML threat protection, keyword validation, followed by traffic management policies, which is more around spike arrest, quota, concurrent limit. I think we all know this. I mean, I'm just trying to highlight that how it wires back. The point is this sufficient? I'm not trying to introduce an API gateway. You have to look upon all these things are manual. You have to configure everything. Can you really depend upon it? The answer is no. No gateway can say that I am 100% good, and if you use me, your backend or Microsoft is safe. No, those days are gone, because 90% of the web-based application has the increased surface area, and there's a 40% increased threat perception in the next 2 years, and it will increase further. This is not endgame. You have to bring automation. That's what exactly gateways are doing now. You have to bring an integrated view. That's what gateway is doing that. I don't want to actually promote any specific gateway, but recently, at least 10 days back, APG has launched APG X. Akamai has given an extension to their Akamai CDN in the form of gateway. What are they doing? They're trying to integrate their caching, their firewall, their additional security, their bot detection with gateway. Gateway is no more just a standalone ability. Google realized that. That's why they have integrated end-to-end. And that's a very good news for SaaS provider. By default, they have CDN, everything is there. So now they play a very important role in your future state of architecture. Let's assemble it quickly. We have omnichannel, you have a CDN, we have as a first step, while I'm trying to consume my backend enterprise system, ideally you would want to come to presentation layer, you will access it, and you used to have ESBs in the past to access enterprise system. But the problem was enterprise system was not scaling, ESB was not scaling. What do we do now? We bring a microservices, right? The microservices could be very well be service bus injected to Kubernetes container that is going to abstract all the load, which is being passed on to enterprise service for invocation. And you can have your own architecture in terms of synchronous, asynchronous, backpressure handling, whatever you want. You do that in your microservice. You should have a very good telemetry in place to track everything. So as I said, is API server side is enough? No, you need to have an API-driven strategy. That's why I'm saying API-driven. That's your threat, but it's unavoidable. We have to handle API-driven approach. We bring an API gateway, and this time I have brought in hybrid API gateway. I'm not saying you should use only this one, but I have brought the best in piece for this architecture discussion. It has got a dev portal for us to be able to operate and make API gateway as a successful platform. Developer portal is very, very important. That's allows you a marketplace. It may be integrated with the monetization engine as well. As you see, the next thread is about, I've added another cluster. In this case, the lower one is having 2 microservices cluster, and you can have your own strategy around shielding the one in the back from the front. It's like a abstraction on the backend domain services, the front one, right? You can have various strategies with service mesh. You can play with that. That's not the topic, but they're just showing that you can use a hybrid gateway, go and buy it. And you can have multiple deployment strategy for gateway. You can have multiple instances also. But normally, this is what is observed. And then finally, I'm trying to bring in the green balls, which are nothing but your AI component, which is like a sidecar proxy, and you can deploy it there. And then you can keep on deploying it at various places. And as you can see there, AI management analytics component, which is going to analyze these traffic to the mesh and take a call. So I'm now on point number 7, you see, CDN, that is where I've added another AI component. Then I added a load balancer just above the hybrid gateway to safeguard it. And I can also add a AI component there. And finally, I can bring, don't be surprised if you see API gateways coming with advanced AI abilities. Already there are API gateways that have these AI components, bot detection as an add-on, but don't get surprised, they will come as an add-on to the component itself. That's my talk about API security. There are much more, but let's hear out from you if you have any questions. How do we handle DDoS attack in case of API security? So DDoS attack is not something that this is only at one level. If you look upon the OSI layer, DDoS attack can happen at any layer. It can happen at the network layer. It can also happen at the application layer. So you will have appropriate strategy. And what is that? It is a combination of bringing in AI. That's why I have brought in AI along with the API gateway. Because you need automation, because you will know what is the pattern of attack, because the network is well spread. You have multiple systems, thousands of systems, and you have to figure out the trend. So the best way to do that is bring an AI based module, which will do the calibration, will do all modeling, and figure out how to scale up to the ever evolving challenge. So there are key factors, like when you're looking upon API gateway comparisons, you should think about, I already discussed about what are the key features within API gateway in my previous discussion, right? But beyond that, that's not enough. That's default with almost every gateway. And believe me, that will solve the problem. But when you think about enterprise level, where there are too many APIs, we have to think about the advanced features. And if I have to, categorize them, one is connectors and extensions, which has, and if you look at the modern world, GraphQL is picking up. Gateways are forced to provide extensions. Few gateways are even providing you an endpoint at the gateway level. That very few of them are actually doing. But I don't want to name it. But yes, there are gateways that are providing you GraphQL endpoint, and there are gateways that are providing you mechanism to call your backend microservices through a GraphQL resolver. SOAP to REST conversion. You will say today nobody writes SOAP. Yes, there's a legacy application. I need to translate that. You need a converter. Depends upon your requirement. You can pick and choose. And then the language. I don't want any proprietary log. I know there are in the leader quadrant, there are very good gateway products. I don't want to name them, but I don't want to use any kind of proprietary language to implement. You want to use my same engineering team that can do everything. I don't want any specialized team. That's the hypothesis. We need a good language support. What is that? JavaScript, Java, Golang, Node.js, and many more. It will keep on evolving. Finally, being able to integrate with your logging systems. That's about external log integrations. The second component is around infrastructure. What is infrastructure? How good is tooling? How rich is the management APIs? Because ultimately, I can influence API gateway automation through making API calls. And we have struggled in Sapient. In fact, we have a client, I can't name them, where the management APIs were not very rich. You have to wait for them to mature. So that's very important for you, right? To do, because you are integrating with API gateway using developer portal, but at the enterprise level, you want to build your own portal. That time, this plays a very important role. What is that? The management APIs. Then comes service mesh integration. Service mesh is of no use to you, because that's something more about the way the vendor has bundled their gateway product for deployment. You can't do much inside that. So it's only the ease of deployment, followed by caching, security, and then integrated security. I just talked about that. Nowadays, the gateways are evolving. Like I talked about Akamai trying to integrate with CDN, ABG trying to integrate with the entire CDN and caching and everything to improve the response time. And finally, total cost of ownership. You have to calculate. Don't get into the discussion of what is the best gateway. Don't get there. Think about your business problem, be realistic, and then come. Because the best means you have a cost, then you will say, no, this is not affordable. Take a realistic call on this one. I always say, don't compare gateways. Come up with your realistic requirement. And then comes their portal. Yes. What is the developer friendliness? Mediation is a big problem because the abstraction there. I need to do mediation. I need to do troubleshooting. I need to have a portal, and I need to have a community to troubleshoot the problem. Analytics, yes. We are not there right now as a business transformation because our journey is not API driven. Our journey is more web driven. The moment you come for API driven journey, it's a very futuristic feature provided by the gateways, which has never been leveraged to the best. You should be able to create custom report the way people are using apps and consuming your APIs. You get a lot of report. Based upon that, you will come with a strategy. How should I externalize my internal APIs? And that should be monetized, it should be centralized to the developers and not more. That's it. And let's look upon these Gartner quadrant, which shows what all is there. I will not go through each one of them. I have just one point to speak out. Look at Amazon Web Services. It's a good news. Believe me, I really struggled for years to find any SaaS product showing anywhere in any of these 4 quadrants. That's a good news. That's a new trend, and expect that to be part of the solution going forward. And you will augment that by bringing in additional products like AI or additional security integration. You will not look for everything in one gateway. What are the AI-based vendors that we have? AI-based security model I talked about. We have 3 components. We have the runtime, we have the management component, and we have the AI model, right? So this is purely internal to the way vendors are implementing. The security model will go and map, and you have to analyze the AI, that whatever offering is there, how good is that in terms of its offering, and where does it map to your specific layer in on the OSI layer. That is the evaluation. I have not done that evaluation. But all I want to say is AI has this capability to do that. And right now I have interacted with one of the vendors. We've had some presentation in our PS, picked up a lot of content from L7 defense vendor, and you can explore that and you'll find a lot of interesting readouts out there. That's all. Thank you.